sec here.
Oh, it's
There
all
you
good.
go. We are live. Mr. Shane Connery Volk is with us today. Shane, thanks for joining. Love to have you come back, man. Incredible, bro. Prairie Gods has been like next level for me. I mean, I already am in love with your art. I mean, Nottingham and everything you did over there was just, it's insane, man. But Prairie Gods is like a whole nother level, and your art just matches the storylines and everything that you were doing in each of these individual stories. But I will say, when I was done with issue 5, man, even though you could read them individually and you grasp almost everything, there is a little bit of a line that goes through them also. I
Yep.
definitely want to talk about that, man, because
Awesome, man.
that threw me off, bro. But I love it, man. But before we jump into that, Shane, how's it going, man? How you feeling about it now? You're done with the first 5 issues. You feeling good about everything?
Tommy, well, it's good to be back, man. Thanks for having me on here. We said that I think we chatted last after the first issue, maybe. So I'm happy that now you've got all 5 and I can field some questions because I know people have a few. I've had some emails saying like, what was this about? Anyway, no, I feel great, man. Honestly, I'm sure we'll get all into everything here, but very cool and kind of surreal to have it out and all 5 done. Like, especially when you're writing, drawing and coloring, like it was such an engrossing process that when it was done, it was like, holy shit. Kind of
good, man.
Yeah, it felt good, but also just weird because you're in that world so deeply in every aspect. So once that was done, definitely felt a little bit surreal, but yeah, I feel great. Honestly, I'm stoked how it turned out. And yeah, we'll get into lots of stuff because it answered a lot of questions for me just about people's reading habits. And there were a lot of things that I kind of wanted to know about how this thing would be received. So I'm excited for your questions, man.
I love it. Well, I mean, so we kind of jump right into issue 1. And I will say, for anybody watching and you start to read it, pay close attention because there are things happening in some of the page, and I might have missed it on a couple of them, but I mean, the billboard in issue 2, that is a callback to issue number 1. In issue 5, the mine, the explosion, there's a bunch of stuff that as you start to read it, you're like, holy crap, man. Because I think when we first talked, right, issue 1, we talked about these being self-contained stories.
Yeah.
So that anybody, if you want to jump into issue 3, you could jump into issue 3. If you want to jump into 5, you could jump into 5, which is absolutely true. They are self-contained stories with an asterisk.
Yeah.
Because there is a line that kind of goes through that. Not only Sheriff, I hope I pronounce his name right. Reedy.
Yeah.
Not only Sheriff Reedy is kind of one of those lines that kind of crosses through, obviously, Broad Acres and everything that's going on in Broad Acres. But there's a few other little things that start to, you're like, wait a minute, is that the same person? What the heck? So, yeah, I can't wait to jump in. And those that are joining right now, thanks for joining us, man. Get into the comments, ask your questions about Prairie Gods if you have any. But if it's okay with you, Shane, I'd like to jump right into
issue. Man. Yeah, hit me up.
Awesome, man. All right. So this one is awesome. It follows Freddie, who is a racer. He races at a very specific race course that is now closed down. He ends up going back and purchasing it, and he's been kind of practicing, and then we find out why he's practicing. He wants to race the devil because he truly wants to die, knowing he was absolutely the fastest man ever.
Yep.
And just the art, and we talked about this the first time that you came on, man. Your ability to draw cars, and not only just cars, but cars in movement is like next level, Shane. I mean, I absolutely
appreciate that, man. Thank you.
That, yeah. And I think we even talked about Sean Murphy and him being known as the car guy, man. I think your name needs to be thrown up there as well, my friend, because I just, talking to a lot of artists, horses, feet, cars are like the things that most artists hate doing. And I hope you love it because you're good at it, man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Honestly, that, and it's cool because I've heard some people compare it to some of Sean Murphy's stuff, which is like, what a crazy compliment because he's one of my favorites of all time. And I mean, let's be real. Like, I'm not just being modest. Like, no one touches his cars. Like, he has a technicality, and like you said, the hardest thing about drawing cars is like, you can figure out how to draw them. You could even trace them straight up and still make it flat. You know what I mean? Like, it's more like, that was part of the challenge with that book. And actually part of the reason I wrote it in the first place is coming off Nottingham. I wanted to challenge myself with some new stuff. And I thought, well, the most challenging thing you could do is have half a book that's just a car race. And, you know, to see it's like, can you make it exciting? And well, you know, that was the attempt anyway. So, especially since it's like Freddie's racing himself for the first part of the race.
Exactly. Until he gets pulled over, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm glad you dug it, man. I was a little nervous going into that one just because it is that car race and just trying to make it have movement. You know, because with a human body, you can bend it. And, you know, if you're doing a fight scene and people are twisting and taking punches and you can really get movement on a page, but a car doesn't move, you know, it's what it is. So just trying to get different angles. And, you know, I love movies like Bullet and that kind of thing. So watch a couple of those and get some ideas. So I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked the way that chase played out, and hopefully you liked how it paid off.
100%. Are you okay to share some of the screen with the?
Oh yeah.
You're okay.
No, absolutely.
All 5 issues are out. You know, you do have the trade coming out, which if anybody has not read this, you got to pick it up, man. You're going to be blown away. The trade, I believe, comes out June 10th, if I'm not mistaken. So you could pre-order right now at Mad Cave Studios. Obviously, go into your comic book shop and tell them you want this, but also Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that good stuff. I even left a review on Barnes & Noble because it's so freaking amazing, man. I love this.
Thanks, man. I
love this title, bro.
I appreciate it.
I haven't done that for anybody else. So I'm not just bullshitting you, Shane, dude.
Hey.
Title, bro.
Very cool, Tommy. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so, you know, if people haven't had the chance to read this, man, what's wrong with you, for one? But two, it's so freaking dope, man. All right, let me see here. Now I'm showing my age, man.
Hey, it's all good. You know what? And sometimes tech stuff just happens, you know?
Yeah, I know. What I hope doesn't happen is that, oh, here we go. I got it now, man.
I ran a live stream during the pandemic, and it was one of those things where, especially when you're doing it live, it's like anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Like it just will. And for no reason, you know? So.
It's so true, man. It's so frustrating too, man. And for whatever reason, whenever I do anything on StreamYard, it just seems even harder. Hold on, let me see. All right, here we go. I had to go to a different. All right, so you could see my screen now. So this is at the very beginning, right? You're about to jump into issue 1, and before you really even get into the story, you're hit with this piece right here. This should be a poster on like someone's wall, man. I just absolutely love this.
Here's the original right here.
Oh, is that it right there? Oh yeah,
there. Yeah,
pencils and ink.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So before we jump into it, did you like traditionally draw everything out pencils and ink, or do you use like the
covers are all pencil ink and a lot of whiteout. Most of the interiors were digital for this. My deadlines were tight, so you know, I sometimes I'll try to do, if I don't have that much time, if I'm squeezed for deadlines like I was with this series, I'll do a lot of interior digital, unless there's like a cool splash page or something. I really just, because there's things you can do with the real tools that you can't do on your iPad, but all the interiors are digital.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I only asked just from a collectability standpoint.
Yeah.
Obviously for yourself, you have it hanging up behind you, which is awesome. I don't know if any of this will ever be available, but that's got to be huge for you, man. That's awesome.
Well, and I'm trying to figure that out right now. And because this first issue is a tribute to my dad, Freddie Davis, my dad's name was Fred. So it's kind of like this first issue really meant a lot to me on some different levels. And that's kind of why I have it hanging up too. It's kind of a tribute to my dad in the art room here all the time.
That is awesome, man. I love it. Simpleton loved it, man.
Very
Went back
cool.
and bought every issue of Nottingham as well. So some of the best art you will see for sure. Yeah, and hoping we're getting more. I don't know if you know if you're going to have a season 2 yet, or
no, we haven't had the discussion yet. Trust me, I got a million stories, so we'll see how that plays out.
Well, I hope so, man. I hope so. All right, let's jump in right away, and here we go. We jump right in, and we see Freddie back in the day with his racing right here in the black and white, and then you get the 1 year later, and here he is cruising down the highway, and we got Sheriff Reedy behind him. And it seems like Sheriff Reedy already knows what's about to happen because they seem to have a little bit of a history, right?
Yeah, and Ned Reedy may have been around this town for a very long time, so he's aware of everything.
Exactly. He is aware of everything. And yeah, we were kind of talking a little bit earlier. He is kind of the one constant through all 5 issues. So, and if you look at the timelines when everything is taking place, it kind of jumps around a little bit. So definitely he's been around for a while, especially when we get to, I think it's issue 3, No Man's Land.
Yeah.
He's sitting on the porch and he's talking, and the gentleman is 127 years old.
Bill Roberts is 127. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been around too.
I love this, man. But just look at the art, man. I just love your style.
I appreciate that, Tommy. Thanks, man. It's, I love the scratchy stuff. I'm sure you and I talked last time, but like Sienkiewicz is a big influence. Like Jason Sean Alexander, huge. And like we were talking about Sean Murphy, like I like an organic style. Also, it's not like I didn't really set out to do this. The more I just embraced who I was, the more it just kind of comes out scratchy. And yeah, so I appreciate that you like it, because I'm getting to a point with it where I'm starting to feel more happy with the way things look. It takes a while before you start to settle into your style and say, okay, I guess I don't draw exactly like Sean Gordon Murphy, so this is how I draw, and I have to be cool with that.
I think that's okay, Shane. And you have your own unique style. Again, everyone's going to compare you to all the other amazing artists that are out there, but yeah, you have a style all to your own, and I love it, man. It gives me old like 90s Image vibes a little bit too, which is
dude, I was a big McFarlane kid growing up, so I'm sure there's some of that in there. Yeah. Honestly, it's a good thing for deadlines, or I would go full McFarlane. There'd be so many lines on a page, you probably wouldn't see anything. So
exactly. Well, at least you're not doing pockets like Liefeld. It might even be even longer. It says, makes me think of original Death Race 2000.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, absolutely.
And then and then Chris says, amazing. Can you get that raw, scratchy tone from a digital pad?
Definitely. So I basically with my iPad, I use very few tools, like traditionally or digitally. So I've built brushes in Photoshop that emulate what I have, like markers and just kind of the pens and stuff I use. So yeah, I have it set up so that it really works a lot like the tools I use traditionally, so that I can get that kind of scratchy texture. And also sometimes I will, like if there's an effect I need, especially when you're doing explosions and stuff, like there's some things you can only do with whiteout and ink. So I'll do that explosion, or I'll just kind of throw shit onto a piece of paper, scan it into my digital art, and kind of build it together. So, because there are some things digitally that you don't get the happy accidents that you do on paper.
Yeah. I mean, you started obviously on paper, right? When you started drawing first in comics, or did you start in digital?
It was a bit of both, but I did a lot of the first series of Nottingham, except for the covers, was all digital, because I never drew a comic before. I was petrified about deadlines, and it was a lot of just, you could do it quicker, but also I used to be very I used to be like shit scared to make mistakes. So digitally I could, kind of try things out, and whereas now I just embrace the mistakes and go with it. But I kind of went digital, and then I switched to paper. The second series of Nottingham is almost all pen and ink.
Wow.
And then I kind of went back to, now I'm sort of back and forth. So whatever it calls for. And like I said, if I'm under the gun, it goes on the iPad.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. But yeah, this is beautiful, man. I absolutely love it. Here we go. They're in the in the shop. I can't remember what's her name.
Well, so you don't know exactly who. I didn't name her in this book.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's Anna from
Anna, yeah,
issue.
you'll
That's
get to
from
know her
issue
later
4.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
these are the things I wanted to do, like little, it didn't, she could have been anyone in this book, but I wanted to kind of put these little seeds of the people that are in Broadacres, right? And how they cross over, and whether or not they're important, how they cross over or not, that I could also, I put some of these in to allow myself future stories too, to see like, because I didn't have the minds written when I was doing this. And I kind of had an idea for her, but having her here made sense to make her, well, we'll get to the minds later, but yeah. So anyway, that's Anna. That's Anna Dara.
Well, now I just had another mind screw up because I'm obviously it looks like Anna in the mines, but I'm not making the connection because I don't remember her name from issue 1. So
Yeah.
now that you just said that, another line just has been built for me as you said that. That's awesome.
Well, and I'll say this,
Yeah.
it's going to be cool. And we'll get into this later as well. But like, I really realized the way these books came out, like there's a vast difference between floppies in a trade, right? Obviously, but people just don't retain month to month.
No.
And so it's cool that people that pick the floppies up, first of all, thanks. Cause man, there's a million books that come out every week. So anyone that picked this up, I love you. But it's going to be a very different reading experience for people to have read them monthly. And now if they read the trade front to back, you're more familiar with the world, and you kind of, so I think reading the trade, people are probably going to pick up a few more of these little like Easter eggs that are in each issue.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense because I did pick up all the floppies and I read them as they came out, but then in preparation, I did reread it. And as I reread it, I caught a lot of things that I didn't catch from the month to month, especially, I mean, on average, I assume if you're going into your comic shop every Wednesday, you're probably picking between 3 and 6 comics every week. So you're looking at, 12, 24, 25 comics that you've read over a month, man. It's all going to start blurring. And all of a sudden Spider-Man's in your title here because my brain is all messed up.
Well, and honestly, Tommy, that it's cool because that was part of like writing this. There was a lot of things that I wanted answered because I just wanted to know more about how people buy and read and process comics, right? Especially with indies, because this isn't Spider-Man. You don't already know his whole backstory, so everything's brand new. So it was interesting to see what people retained. I was really curious to see how people would like serialized stories because I love them. Like I love one-off stories, and I mean I like a good arc too. But it's I kind of like the one and done, and it was cool to see a lot of people did enjoy it. I guess if anything's done right, it can be enjoyable. But I was happy to see that a lot of people also like the serialized stuff, same as I do.
No, 100%. If you look at what W. Maxwell has done with Ice Cream Man, I mean, yeah, you're kind of doing the same thing, obviously in your own touch. But yeah, I love that I could just jump in and I don't have to worry about what happened the last month. Whereas when I'm reading like Incredible Hulk, which I absolutely love right now, I do kind of have to go back and go, okay, what happened in this situation? And, it makes it a little bit harder. But yeah, this one, you don't have to do that. But when you do it, you do get a lot of little Easter eggs. And so
absolutely.
I absolutely love it as well.
Yeah.
Simpleton DC says, does the trade have any of the behind the scenes extras?
No, this one's going to be pretty bare bones. This trade, I do have, we're talking about maybe doing something going forward, depending if a second series gets picked up. But because of course I've got character sketches and all sorts of stuff. But I put a lot of that on my Instagram on Art of SCV. So I'll probably post some more of that when the trade comes out for sure.
Nice. I love it. Well, here's Anna talking to Freddie, obviously a little worried about him going back at it one more time. But he has an itching that he has to scratch, right?
Yeah.
And, she obviously understands, but that worry is there. I just loved it. Look at that, man. So this is really cool, man. You could see Freddie is so invested in this.
Oh, he's ready to go.
He's ready to go.
He's done his research.
Yeah, he's done his research. He has a whole track mapped out. He knows where he could go fast, where he needs to slow down, what sharp turns there are, where people have died before. It's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, a little callback.
Yeah, and then that page, this is a page that like I don't know that you realize the tie-in with issue 5 that has to do with this page, but we'll get there if we chat issue 5.
Yeah, I missed it.
You'll see who the driver of this car is when you get to issue 5.
Oh, damn. All right. So here we go, man. Here's the race day. Things are about to start, and he's racing the devil, right?
Yeah, because it's it's kind of like a timed event, right? Like you have to qualify. It's like you got to qualify. The devil's not going to race anybody. Like first you got to show that you got what it takes, and then if he decides you do, then it's on.
I love it, man. And it would be really cool, Shane. I know you talked a little bit about this the first time you had on. You talk about your father and how this first issue was dedicated. What was racing between you and your father?
Well, the big thing is that so my dad, he was a farmer. I grew up on the farm, and he always wanted to be a race car driver. That was like a dream. And this 70 GTO was the car that he was just dying to have. This car his whole life. It's the one that he loved. He wanted a burnt orange, but I had to make it black because I put my taste together with his. So yeah, so that was the thing. This is kind of a tribute to him, and he's got some similarities with Freddie. My dad does, but this is just kind of, in a way, I think in my mind, this is like my dad in an alternate reality almost, so.
That's so cool, man. John says, damn, I got to hire Shane for the next 100-box anthology. His stuff is too good.
John, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that.
It is good, man. So off to the races, man. And this is what I talked about, man. Just the art and the movement of the car. Like you said, it's hard enough to draw a car just sitting on the side of the street, but then the driving and movement is another level. And I just think you're so good at it, man.
Thanks, man. Well, so one of the things I did, and this is like a Frank Miller thing from Sin City, talking about, I mean, it's an old thing in comics, but he really did it a lot in Sin City, which is like, cars are never touching the ground. And I kind of was like part of, we may have talked about this last time, but I'll say it again. Like part of what I did with Prairie Gods was the idea that I didn't want anything super over the top. Like I wanted this to feel like a B movie. Every book's got to be like a B movie. And so I couldn't have like big special effects, there might be one effect in a book, right? Like that's like those B movies, like they save their budget for the one thing, So I kind of wasn't, I didn't want to go over the top with like cars flying through the air and that, but I decided like to have it be exciting, cause you have to do some of that stuff. Cause the idea was that you could take this book and just film it cheap, and you could take all of the books and really do them cheap, even though there's sci-fi and there's, like the devil, he doesn't have a flaming like Ghost Rider kind of skull. He's just got a helmet. Right. And I'm like, if this is the 70s and they made this into a movie or a TV show, that costume would cost you like $20. Like that's kind of the point, right? It's sort of cheap looking as far as costume design. That was sort of the point. But there's a few things that you gotta in a 2D in 2D art like this, like to get a car to look like it's doing something, it's got to be off the ground if it's going fast,
Absolutely. Well, it is definitely going fast. And here you go.
Get the little fireball and then
the fireball right there. And then obviously from behind and starts to take the lead up here, the devil.
Yeah, there they go.
Man. Like your scratchy style is just so perfect for this as well.
Well, I'm trying to get movement and speed, right? And I ink, whether it's on paper or digital, I ink super fast and kind of like the faster the thing is, like what if it's same as in Nottingham, if I'm doing like a sword fight, I just go quick because I'm like trying to get some energy on the page, like physical energy from my hand to the page. A lot of times that translates somehow to the reader. So
like you said that your first sequential art in comics was Nottingham.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go from never doing it to begin doing it to doing Nottingham, which has some of the best art in comics, man. Like that doesn't make
Thanks,
any
dude.
sense. So you're probably pissing off a lot of artists that literally.
Well, you know what it is? It's like throw yourself in the deep end. The only way that you're really gonna learn is on the job, especially with stuff like art. You can't prepare enough to do a book. You got to just dive in. I mean, if you go back to especially the first series in Nottingham, like the first few books are rough. Like I have a hard time even looking at those books. I'm like, oh shit, man. Like I'd love to just redraw that first series, but a lot of that is just learning on the page, every page. And then I really took a piece of Todd McFarlane's advice seriously, where I forget what interview I saw this in, and he said, you just have to draw a page and move on. Like, do your best and move on. Like, you could sit there and try to tweak, and I really took that to heart. I'm like, I'm going to learn my lessons on this page, and I'm sure 5 years from now, I'm going to look back and be embarrassed, but whatever, you learn your lessons, go to the next page, and just up level from there.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. Look at that.
There's that $20 devil costume.
Exactly.
Kind of like that. Was that the 70s? Is that a Captain America costume that people always laugh about? He's got the big, and I'm like, I love that shit. That's great. Somebody brought in their motorbike helmet and painted it.
Yeah, exactly. I love that, man. Little skulls. I love it, man. So cool, man.
And there was terrain like this near where I grew up. So Broadacres is a real place. That's actually the town that I grew up beside is Broadacres, Saskatchewan in Canada. So the whole thing is a bit of a tribute to my little ghost town that I grew up next to. And there was terrain like this actually. So not quite the same. I mean, a lot of this is like the salt flats down in Utah. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of, whatever the story needed, all of a sudden that was in Broadacres. Oh shit. Yeah. There's a military base there now, and there's hills and there's whatever I need.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's so cool, man. And I love that it all connects back to that place.
Yeah. I mean, the main character is the town, right? That's the real through line for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And here they come neck and neck. Look at that, man. It looks so dope, man.
Yeah, pulls it out right at the end.
Out right at the end, man.
And then a lot of people, I mean, spoiler alert, a lot of people thought Freddy was going to die or the devil was going to somehow screw him, because that's what the devil does, right? But not this time.
Not this time, but it doesn't seem like the devil is done either, though. Look at that, man. And then at the end right here, best out of 3.
Yeah. It's going to go 2 out of 3. And Freddy thinks, shit, yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Don't kill Anna, man.
Yeah. It's kind of, I love Rocky, and I loved like Rocky 3 is so great. It's got one of my favorite endings of any movie where, Rocky gets the title back and Apollo helps him get it back. And there's a whole thing. But, in the end, Apollo is just like, he just wants to prove to himself that he's better. Yeah. So they're just going to have a fight, alone in a gym. That's kind of what this is, They're just like, whatever now. Let's see who's best.
I love it, man. I love it.
And the devil makes the rules. So of course it's best 2 out of 3.
It has to be. Yeah. Looks so cool, man. And then Heaven's Trail is part 2, which was also unique. Another mind, like at the very end. So the gun with the handle, which we'll probably get into a little bit. I had to look up and see what that meant, because I did not know what that meant.
You looked the Latin up, did you?
I looked the Latin up, man. I was like, oh shit, man, that makes a lot of sense. And then at the end, when Reedy has the same handle at the end, it just threw me for a whirl, man. I'm like, damn it, Shane, damn it.
Dude, so it's cool. So issue 1, straight up race, it's ghost story in that, like, it's the devil, so it's supernatural. Yeah. The second book is just a straight up ghost story. It's like something you tell around a campfire, right? Like it's I kind of just wanted to throw the things that I love into this series. And again, there was a lot of things that I was trying to be unafraid of how they would land, like really just be unattached from the outcome. People really gravitated to stuff that I wasn't expecting. People loved book 3 far more than I thought, like far more. I was shocked because I thought I'm a huge, we're going to get there obviously, but I'm a huge World War One history junkie. And so that was super specific to my taste, but I was like, holy shit, a lot of people were into this. So that was super cool. Anyway, book 2 here. Yeah, this is straight up ghost story. Ned Reedy, he's a spoiler alert. He is a ghost.
He is a ghost. Now you find out who he really is, man, which is even more awesome, man. And another poster that could belong on your wall. Is this another one that you have the pencils and inks for?
Yep.
Or no?
Yeah, okay. I've got the pencil and ink for all of the covers, actually.
That is so cool, man. I love that cover. Looks dope.
There you go.
Man. That's awesome.
The covers I definitely wanted to have the physical thing because I possibly sell them at some point. I mean, hey, like any artist, you can just make me an offer, DM me. Yeah, exactly. The offer's good. I have my I'll part with anything price. So
yeah, exactly. Makes sense. I think we all have that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We won't get rid of nothing unless the price is right.
Yeah.
All right, so something's going down, and Reedy gets a call. We got this this guy who he is already very, like, he knows who this guy is.
Yeah.
They're like freaking out, talking about Cyrus, and he's like, I got this. I know exactly who this is. I know exactly where this person is going, all that good stuff. He's going into the hills. He just needs to find them, right? And so he goes to the bar, which I love, man, the Country Mile Saloon, which there are a few saloons in this town, just so you know, start paying attention. You have, I think it's Silver Saloon.
Yeah, the Silver. Yeah, the Silver Saloon is in Broadacres, Country Miles in Cache City.
Yeah, Cache City.
All the little towns. You got to have, every little town has to have a pub, man. Like I take my motorbike around and just go hit up pubs in like Northern Washington or anywhere in Canada. Yeah. Every little town's got a cool little pub and they all have a story, right?
Yep, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So this is really
you'll see that 70 GTO sitting outside.
Yes.
Freddie's car is there with the bikes.
That's so cool, man. Actually, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, there it is.
I just caught it right now when he said that. I'm like, wait a minute. That's why I said there's so many, as you're reading this, everyone, there's so many cool little things that kind of tie back. It's awesome. So yeah, the art is so cool, man.
Thanks, dude. And this is actually the first issue I drew and wrote. I had a Patreon going during COVID, and after Nottingham 2, I was kind of filling my time. I wanted to write, and so I was sort of serializing this on my Patreon, and I did Heaven's Trail, and I intended it to be book 1. But my first editor on the series, Chaz Pangburn, said, I think Race the Devils, give him the action one first. And he was right. So this one is pretty much all pen and ink, the second issue. So this is the first one I wrote and drew, and then Race the Devil, but it comes second. So
that is so cool, man. So looking for Donnie Cyrus. I got a couple brutes in here not having it, and they have no idea who they're messing with, man.
Yeah.
Reedy's not someone to play around with.
No, he's not. He doesn't need to be afraid of anything.
Nothing, man. And you can see, right, this is when I knew, I was like, all right, man, Sheriff Reedy, the reason why that line kind of ties through everything is because he's not a human like we are, man. Yeah. This guy is a ghost, and you're not going to affect him at all.
Well, and I played around with the idea of like, is he a ghost? Is he like, trying to think of like what he could be. And then I finally, just like I got to the point where I'm like, cause I wanted Freddie to maybe race a ghost, like a spirit of the raceway that maybe died. And I'm like, nah, fuck it. He should race the devil. Yeah, and same with this. I'm like, nah, Ned Reedy's a ghost. He's a revenant. He's like, yeah. So
awesome, man.
Yeah. Don't get into the weeds. Just make it simple.
Just make it simple. Yeah. Yeah. So very cool stuff, man. And this is what I was talking about, man. I love the billboard. That's a callback to issue 1 with the race. Yeah.
Because, Freddie's he's the celebrity of that town, right? Like everybody, he's Dale Earnhardt You know, he like he's the guy in that town. They all know him. He's a superstar.
Yeah. So another thing is anything in the background that has words on it, make sure you're reading it, because there is I don't know if it was in the mines. There's like a newspaper article.
Oh, that's in Amarok in the 5th one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Amarok, so number
Yeah.
5.
Did you? Well, we'll get there, but did you read? Did
I
you read the
did.
newspaper? Okay, I was like, how many people are actually going to read this? Because it gives you little extra tie-ins for sure.
For sure it does. And actually, yeah, it shows you how kind of everything kind of ties in, which is awesome, man. So yeah, I definitely read that. It is I had to put my old man glasses on for sure to read it, but I was glad I did, because sometimes you like a few words whenever you see like a newspaper, and then as it gets smaller, it's just little lines. But no, you wrote a lot in there, which is awesome. I loved it. Because it definitely helps tie in everything.
Well, and I figured for anybody who wants to do a deep dive, I like that stuff. Like I like the Easter egg kind of, so
100%, man. I love it. I love it. So just going back and forth with this team here.
Yeah. Reedy says he's going in alone. Doesn't need him.
Doesn't need any help. Grabs his horse and takes off. Finds the truck. So this is Donnie's truck that he left, and Donnie is lost.
Yeah. Both spiritually and physically, Donnie is lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is important to the story too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's kind of, that's the crux of a good ghost story is there's, more than just the horror bits or the supernatural stuff. There's lessons. There's always lessons to be learned in classic ghost stories, right? So
absolutely.
And Donnie doesn't learn shit.
He doesn't learn shit, man. That's for sure. So he pulls up to this old man and starts to talk. And the old man is very generous, allows him to kind of hang out, even stay the night. And he said he would pack up stuff for him and send him off on his way in the morning. But the old man starts talking about what's really happening in the hills in this area where they're sitting. Starts to get a little spooky. And then this is when I respice, is it Finem?
Yep.
Yeah. So I looked it up. It says to consider the end or have regard for the end, or reminder of one's mortality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I saw that. I go, oh, that has to mean something in the story. And then for sure, as you see what kind of takes place with Donnie, definitely need to make sure that we all remember about mortality, man.
That's cool that Tommy, that's cool that you did these deep dives, man. Like that's cool that you looked into that, because it's little things like that. It doesn't really matter. It just that there was this inscription, whether or not you looked it up. But yeah, it's just a little like, consider your end. Consider the choices you're making right now. They may go poorly for you, depending. the choices you make now, they affect the end. So
I think if you meet a man who has a gun and the handle has that written on it, even more so, you should understand about the dire situation you're probably in, man, if you know what that means without having to look it up. That's hilarious, man.
So yeah, Donnie's not having it. He doesn't give a shit.
Nope, he does not. But it doesn't go well for him.
No.
At all, man.
Yeah, shoots the old man, cold-blooded.
Shoots the old man, but there is a price to pay after shooting the old man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is physical torture or if it's like a spiritual torture that he goes through, because we do see him. He's still alive, but he's not the same person anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is more of a mental thing and he's being tortured for what he did.
Yeah. I mean, a bit of both, probably, right? Like there's, he's basically like he's being put through it. And, this is another thing that I really wanted to know doing these books is like, how much do I explain? How much, there's points where I think maybe I could have said more. But I was very interested to see, like, if you over explain, I don't want to give everything away, because like I like reading a story where my imagination kicks in as well, right? And that's kind of what I was hoping with these, is that people could enjoy filling in some of the blanks, right? Because in my mind, I mean, yeah, Donnie here goes on some horrible journey, which like, it's only through the night, but to him, he may have been dragged to hell for 50 years. Like, who knows what happened in this, because these haunted hills, who knows what ordeal he's gone through. But yeah, by the morning, he's a different person.
He's definitely a different person. And I like that. I don't think you have to explain everything, because I think individually as a reader, we might each get something a little different out of this story.
Yeah.
As well. Right. And so whatever your intent was, it might have another meaning to somebody else based on their experiences and obviously what they read. So I love that, man. We'll all walk away. Maybe I'm making a little more of it than maybe it was meant to be, but that's what I saw. Right.
Well, it's cool, man. And honestly, like, I had people like some of the reviews I got, and shout out to you and like everybody that all the YouTubers and everybody that reviewed this for me. It was super cool. Like, I got a lot of love on this, and for an indie, man, that just means everything. Right. So, but a lot of people did a lot of filling in of like Freddy's backstory, like things that they're not in there, but like to you or to that reader. And I love that. I love hearing people's interpretation of like what they think this is about. And you get a window into their lives too, right? Of how they would see this character. So
absolutely.
Anyway, so Donnie gets attacked by the corpse of the old man. The zombie old man comes back.
Yeah. And he's been found.
Yeah. Reedy's got him.
Reedy's got him, and he's not the same person anymore. You can see by his eyes, almost no pupil, man. It's just almost he's in a gaze or a daze after everything he went throughout the night. And even he mentioned that at night, man, things start to happen out in these areas that
you don't want to be in the hills at night unless you're Ned Reedy, because you're you got a whole other thing going on. So
exactly. So very cool, man. I love this one, man.
And then you get the call back.
Yep.
Look who's got the gun.
Yep. There it is right there. Now you know who that old man possibly was, right? Which I love, man. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, damn, man. And that's when I started going back, okay, was Reedy the driver?
Well, and that's dude, it's cool you say that, because that's the stuff I love with these. I mean, I know the answers, and I wonder if I do sequels to this, or if I do another anthology, it's like, depending on how much people want things filled in, because you can also, you can ruin shit for people, right? Because like sometimes, man, the story you have in your head, it's like, that's your story. And then you get this prequel or a sequel, and it's like, shit, I don't know, that my story was better.
I don't know if you need to go, I mean, just my own opinion, but I don't think you need to go into that depth, man. I think the fun of it is trying to link these up and then just having conversations. And it'll be interesting to see other people who have read it too, what their thoughts were on it as well, man. And I think, you and I talked about this, I grew up with my parents watching The Twilight Zone. And to this day, there are stories that I remember watching that still, I don't want to say haunt me, it's not that dramatic, but at the time it scared the hell out of me, man. And it was just stupid stuff, but because they entered into this environment and can never come back out of that environment for whatever reason, that scared the hell out of me. I don't want to be stuck in one position my entire life and not find a way to escape that. Right? Yeah. So, and I don't know if that was the intention of the show or that episode at least, but that's what I took away from it.
Which I love that, man. And honestly, like, cause I'll be honest, I'm not a huge horror guy. Like, I don't watch a lot of horror, and, we in Mad Cave, we called this a horror anthology, cause it's kind of, supernatural's a weird thing, right? Cause there is a bit of horror, like that moment with the zombie, but like, I'm not a big body horror guy, and I know it's super popular, but it's just never been my thing. But I get off on this kind of stuff that is like you're right, that feeling of like you can't escape. Or, like now Donnie, he's going to jail, but also like his soul is gone. Like there's this, I don't know, that thing that it's more than just jump scares. Yeah. That psychologically sticks with you, and just, I'm with you. I love that stuff. So
me too. I almost think that's more tormenting than kind of the real gory stuff right in front of your face, right? That comes, it goes, it's fake. It doesn't have the same impact, but something like this, I feel like stays with me a little bit longer.
Yeah. I can just sort of, totally.
Yeah. I love it.
That's the intention anyway. So, but now you see Ned Reedy, he's not of this world.
Not of this world at all, man. And you see the eyes, man.
And then, I mean, it's a Western, right? Part two
It
is
is.
a ghost story Western. So he's got to ride off into the sunset. I
Gotta
mean,
ride off the
it
sunset.
has to happen. So
Looks very similar to that 70 GT though. That's why I thought, well, maybe
that's similar for sure.
similar, at least the flying in the air, man.
Yeah.
So, I've talked to a lot of people who have read this, and I agree with you. Almost everyone I talk to, this is their favorite out of the series. And I don't know, because it has the military, the World War I part of it, and I think just at least people my age, we really love history, World War I, World War II, even Vietnam. My dad was at the tail end of Vietnam.
Oh, wow. Really?
My grandfathers, both of them, one fought in the Pacific, the other fought in North Africa and
Oh,
Europe,
no way.
World War II.
Wow.
So I remember sitting with them, asking them a bunch of questions, and I just love that stuff. So maybe that's why I had more of an affinity too. But
Well, that's
yeah,
really cool, Tommy. Thanks for sharing, man. I think, yeah, like I said before, I was shocked that I think this and Race the Devil seemed to be people's kind of 1 and 2, in whatever order. But this one, I was really shocked, but also like, I was heartened, because I think that, especially the First World War, it's over 100 years ago now, and it's moving into mythology, like you get so far away from history. It's not immediate anymore. Like, there's no vets left from that war, and there's very few Second World War vets. And these things kind of move to this place that can be a little dangerous, because it gets forgotten as like a real thing that happened. And I mean, both wars, but I think specifically the First World War, psychologically on these guys, is just like the absolute most horror I think a human could live through. Like, it's so next level, that I was happy to get some of that in here. And while not making it the crux of it either, right? Because I think sometimes with war stories, because they're so brutal, like, you can't even fathom what it's like to live through this shit. But I think if you spend too much time with like the brutality and the gore, and it's kind of like you can get lost in it. It's just almost too much to process, right? So I was happy to go with the swerve where this thing goes, but able to get some of that battle in there, and some of the psychology that these guys had, and just the things they saw, which is crazy. But yeah, it was cool to see how many people dug this one. So I'm stoked to get into it.
I love it, man. Quick question from John: who's the colorist? Everyone. Shane did it all except for lettering. Becca was your
Becca
letter.
Carey, yeah. Becca Carey, absolute, like, she's up for an Eisner for a bunch of books, actually. She's unbelievable. So, but yes, the color's all mine. And as you can tell, I don't know about you, Tommy, I'm a big flat color guy. Love flat. Like, if I existed in the 80s as an artist, I think I'd have been super happy. But so it was cool that Mad Cave let me, this is my first coloring job. And I love Luca's color on Nottingham, and it's very specific to that book, and looks amazing. Like, he's an amazing colorist. And I just always saw my color with this kind of more of a flat color treatment. So hopefully people were digging the color as well.
Yes, 100%. And I also, I do, like, I've seen amazing artists on books where it didn't make sense because their art style didn't add to the story, because maybe their art style is very colorful, but the story is very dark. And so when you add those two together, it takes away from the darkness of the story. Doesn't mean the artist is bad. It just means that their style might not have been right for that story.
Yeah.
Right. But when I see what you're doing with the broad acres being kind of this prairie, farmland, flatland, hills, horses, it matches so good for that. But if you were to take this story and put it in like, or this type of art, maybe do it with G.I. Joe, it might not make the most sense, right?
Yeah. Or at least as an artist, you'd have to adjust for that and
100%,
try to make it sing for that, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because the point too with the prairies, right, is like, I mean, growing up on a farm, it's crazy how daytime it's beautiful, like sunny skies and all that. But man, at night things change. It gets dark, it gets scary, like, and your imagination goes wild at night. So cool to have the AB of that, especially in this book, because you get you know, as we'll see here in the first few pages, like it's a beautiful sunny day, Bill
Beautiful.
Roberts' birthday.
Yeah, I would love to see you do something in the Spawn universe, man, with your art style.
Well, you will see, because I won the Spawnuary contest last year, and my cover is coming out. So I got a Spawn cover coming out pretty soon at some point here. So
at some point, well, congrats on that, man. That's awesome.
Thanks, dude. You know what? I'm trying to get in front of Todd. I'm like, Todd, come on, let me draw your guy for it. Give me a couple pages.
Yeah, I think you'll be all right, my friend. I think you'll be all right. So again, another amazing cover, man. And yes, David, I am a nerd and proud of it, my friend.
Look at David is on. What is going on?
David,
good to see
talking about you, David.
Good to see your face on. Yeah, we were slagging you, David.
Another freaking amazing storyteller. Absolutely love David, man.
Well, I will say this, especially since David's on here. This was my first time writing a series, but honestly, having 3 volumes of Nottingham and just seeing like a pro at work, like the Nottingham scripts, amazing. Like I learned so much from him and how he scripted, and just like, so I had a very good, like, I have great ideas, but like for how I want to do my stories, but to see how he scripts and just the way David can put a story together, amazing. So
incredible. I mean,
he was an accidental mentor to me. So
accidental mentor. Real quick, because David's on, if anybody hasn't read Kosher Mafia, I'm telling you, another gem. Absolutely incredible, man. That also threw me for a loop, man, that whole series. So hopefully we're getting more of that too. But yeah, David is freaking phenomenal. And you too on Nottingham. Like, I don't know, man.
Well, and cool to see David do something like Kosher Mafia that like me. I mean, somebody actually asked me, "Oh, do you draw anything other than like medieval?" I'm like, yes. So same for David. I'm sure it felt good for him also to get out of that. I mean, we love the Nottingham stuff. But nice to get out of that and show like, yes, I can do some other stuff too.
That's always the problem though. Even like for an actor who is on a really popular TV series, they can never not be that character almost, right? And so, I mean, Nottingham has 5 seasons, I guess you could call it, with some break-offs possibly coming soon. So
yeah, there's some you will learn some stuff. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Gonna make me cry. Let's see. Gonna make me cry, and not just because I trained my replacement. I love it, man. Before we jump into this one, Simpleton says, any aspirations for working for the big 2? Daredevil, Punisher, Green Arrow, gritty ground level. You would be awesome on Daredevil if you did art and story.
Honestly, like I had some preliminary talks with some people at Marvel and DC, like nothing too big, but yeah, I mean, if they offered me something, I'm always going to do indie stuff. I like working with people like David is incredible. And I know David's he'll be with the big 2 at some point. But it's one of those things where like I grew up reading Batman and Superman, and like, I was a big Wolverine guy, like, all of that stuff. So it's the idea that you get to put your art up against, Todd McFarlane and Mignola and all like that. How could you say no? I'm going to level with you. This is like, I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't even give a shit what the story is. I'm like, if you want me to draw Batman, I'm going to go.
I love it. I don't blame you, man. I would do the same thing if I had your skill set.
Because it is such a different thing, right? Because you are putting your art up against, I mean, God, like everybody, every one of your heroes, Neil Adams. Like, if you're drawing Batman, it's like, I think I would probably spend a day getting over the like knowing who has drawn this character in what are we at with Batman now, 80 90 years almost, God. So anyway, absolutely, I would, if they threw me something, if they were interested, I would and it'd be cool to do something kind of like Nottingham, which was like, when we first started talking about it, it was like, I don't know if I want to do like, what am I going to do for Robin Hood, right? But then David's story was so crazy that I was like, okay, that's not like, I mean, I love Robin Hood stories, but so it would be cool to do something with the big two that was maybe even a lesser known character that you could really like make your own. That would be, because if you do Batman, I mean, it's going to be Batman.
Yeah.
You're going to do your best Batman. But I mean, like, of course, the absolute stuff is kind of out of the box. But yeah, it'd be sweet to reinvent maybe a long gone big two character.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be incredible. So Chris says, just this picture alone, this cover, you could see the weight of war in his posture, man. Great job on
Thanks,
that.
Chris.
Oh, man,
appreciate it.
Amazing. I will say, pay attention if you got this cover and you didn't really pay attention to this person behind, you're going to find out some stuff pretty soon, man. So here we are on the porch.
Freddie Davis is back.
Freddie Davis is back, man. And he is going to meet Bill Roberts on his birthday. He's 127 years old, and they sit down to have a drink to celebrate. And Bill jumps right into a story that he has always wanted to tell, but it seems like he really hasn't had the right audience up until this point. But Freddie is that perfect person that he feels that he could release this story. And obviously it's been weighing on him. Yeah. So obviously he's going to jump into World War I. At the end, we find out even though that is weighty in and all of itself, something very unique happens in this story that definitely doesn't feel like World War I. And definitely if you went through it, it'd be something that you would be like freaking out on, I think, the rest of your life. Look at that. I mean, just to go from there to here is incredible, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was a fun challenge. I mean, I like drawing old wrinkly faces, and kind of really trying to de-age and age up. And what does a 127-year-old man look like? Well, who knows? But he also has we'll find out. He's got a bit of a healing factor. So
yes, he does. Yes, he does. A little help with that.
And I do I'll say this, it was a challenge for me because they're all one-off books, but it was a cool challenge to be like, how do we get right into the story?
Yeah.
And you could have had like Bill and Fred talk forever on that porch, but I'm like, let's get to the action.
Yeah,
and but you don't want to lose people, right? Because again, not enough information is it's a fun challenge as a writer for sure.
No, absolutely. Just the detail in the trenches too. We're going to come upon a scene that is kind of an overview of what the trenches look like, and the detail of all the men in the trenches. Shane is insane, man.
Thanks, dude.
Insane. Yeah. But here we go. 19 years old in World War I, sitting in the trenches, hasn't seen a ton of action for the first couple rounds here. So he's kind of telling us a little bit of a backstory of digging the trenches, making sure that everything is ready for war. And very quickly, he jumps right into the experience, which has got it, like you said. I mean, I don't know of a war that's not horrific, but like the World War I, World War II stuff just seems, because you could see your enemy right in front of you, man. It's just, I don't know how people walked away and lived the same ever again after experiencing that.
I'll tell you what, they didn't, right? Like they just didn't. I mean, and because, it's actually, it's kind of the opposite, because you don't see your enemy as far as like most of the day, right? Like if they're just shelling all the time. So you're aware they're out there, and it must feel like this kind of, it's almost otherworldly, right? Because they're out there attacking all the time. You never see them until you do. Until the moment they actually become people, right? There's a great story. One of my favorite books is a Pierre Burton book called Vimy, Battle of Vimy Ridge, which is a Canadian battle in the First World War. Talks about this sniper who, it's his first time up in the line, and he's his first go at shooting at the enemy. And so he's trained for this, right? And but he's never killed anybody before. It's his first time in there. So he tells the story about how he's in his the rifle pit, and a German pops his head up, and he's like, holy shit, boom, he takes him down. And another German pops his head up, and he kills him. Another German pops his head up, and he's so caught up in it that by the fourth German is the first time he realized he just killed 3 people.
Wow.
And just the way he describes, like, he was so like there's so much adrenaline, right? Like, holy shit, there's somebody, boom, he takes him, he's in the moment. Not, it's like going to the carnival almost, right? Until it hit him that these are people that he's shooting. It's not like, it is like, just like you said, now you're seeing that enemy. And just the way he describes how like sick he immediately felt, even though it's the enemy and it's all those things, but like the realization for the first time that he was killing people, just, it never left him. He talked about how scarred he was just about that particular experience. And just, yeah, I mean, like, again, man, like, we could go into that forever, because like I said, I love First World War history. But just the psychology of that. And now you got to carry that with you, right? Your whole life. And like you said, yeah, now go back home, raise your kids, go do your job. Like,
mow the lawn, go to the
no big deal.
like,
of course, those guys were scarred for life. So anyway, but yes, we jump in here and you get, as best as I could represent. I mean, a First World War battlefield they look all sorts of different ways. And this is like this is a forward trench. So they're a lot of like what you would see in a lot of First World War battles is like, oftentimes the photos you'll see is like the big, like the wooden sides to the trenches and all that. But a lot of those are the rear trenches. The front ones look a lot like this. Is a ditch, there's nothing, some barbed wire. It's just a ditch and like a hole, basically, usually filled with mud and rats. And anyway, trying to depict that as much as possible. And like I said, it would look kind of similar and kind of different anywhere you are on the Western Front. But this is like at least an attempt at a 2D take on a First World War battlefield.
Well, I absolutely love this page because it really does kind of give you a feel of what it might have been like. It just, I don't know, man. Especially at night, and you're just hearing bullets and bombs hit. Like you said, you can't really see where they're coming from. You know where they're coming from, but you can't see who's shooting. Just a great job capturing all of that, man.
Thanks, man. And then he goes. Yeah. Then he goes out.
Now he's up, right? Now it's his turn. Amazing, huh? There's all the barbed wire. And here,
they did a lot of this stuff. This is like this is a nighttime trench raid is what a lot of times they would do, which is not, in movies, you always see them go over the top where it's like, the big, but a lot of times it was this kind of thing where I put the whistle in there, which they probably wouldn't have done at night, but I think people would recognize that as kind of, I wanted to have some touch points that people would recognize. Or they did these trench raids where they would like just go over, kill as many guys as they could, take some shit, come back. And that's, so anyway, that's what is going on here.
Yeah. One of the things that really hit, and you were just kind of talking about that from that book, Vimy, shooting a man from a distance doesn't feel real. Killing him when you could see him, see his face, smell his sweat, that's real war. And that's why I was like, man, I got chills reading that part, man.
Thanks, dude. And, that is something that you read if you get into, any diaries and stuff like that from soldiers. Cause it is, if you're shooting from a distance, you're not seeing it, but like any soldier would tell you that like the second you use your bayonet, it's a whole other game, because even shooting someone with a gun, it's not personal contact, right? Like, so even if you're shooting them from 10 feet away, it's a very different experience than like a knife. Like, it's just, now you've like gone from crazy to just absolutely insane, right? I mean, and they just, and because in these wars, there's no armor or protection. So
amazing.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. I couldn't imagine it, man.
Yeah, no, me neither.
And so just talking about how these guys would go in and just, it is like a kind of a Viking berserker rage. Like, you're just so amped that you, like, guys would talk about this exact thing where he gets shot and doesn't feel it. And that would happen a lot. Like, you're just so amped up that you're just unaware of what's going on except for what's in front of you. So,
yeah, I would think that as you're being driven by adrenaline going through all this. And then you come to a point where things slow down, the adrenaline dissipates, and then all of a sudden you sit there in your thoughts, what all these young men were going through. Like you said, that's where the weight of the war, I think, really starts to hit you.
Yeah, it's like a sobering up moment almost, where you realize what you just did and what's been happening, and so
yeah, incredible, man.
Yeah, and then boom,
there's a flash. He wakes up buried in mud, and amazing, huh? He kind of like almost doesn't know where he's at, a little disoriented.
What I did like the juxtaposition between like the action to silence. Now he's just he's alone. It's just a starry, clear night, and like that's what. Well, you'll see where this is going, obviously, because this one is not a ghost story.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, and it almost like threw me off when I got to the end. I'm like, oh, this is not going where I thought it was going to go, right? In a good way. But you wonder how long he's been sitting there too, right? Because all of a sudden he snaps to. And he's like, he could kind of hear, but it's not up front like it was. Like who knows how long he's been sitting there. But then he sees something really strange, right? He is in this, I don't know what you call it. I guess he's outdoors, but like a light. And then all of a sudden this person just appears. We then find out it is some sort of a ship or something, but that first, like, what the heck is going on, man?
Yeah. Well, he does question whether or not he might be dead, which you might do, right? Like, am I dead? What's going on?
Exactly. So bright light. And this person comes out. You could hear kind of talking in the background, not sure what it's saying. Barely hear it.
He can't make it out. This is very first person. And I wanted that with this, where you're just getting Bill's, because he's telling the story, right? So this is his recollection. So you're not getting anything from anybody else. It's just what he remembers. And it was cool to write it that way, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know what was being said or what was going on. So, which is why, well, you'll see, that's why you don't get the German translation, because he doesn't understand German.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's true. So he drops, he's not sure whether he's been seen or not, and realizes that he is in a lot more trouble than he thought, right? With the wound that he has. He's bleeding. And then all of a sudden, whoever this is touches him. And can you imagine, man? It just doesn't look like you, doesn't sound like you. Obviously at least doesn't think that this person has been fighting this whole time, and they put your hand on you. Like, I don't know what's more scary, man.
Yeah, he's having a weird day.
He's having a very weird day. Yeah. So all of a sudden, this person pulls something out of their pockets, and they stab him with it, and it's some sort of a prescription that heals you at a very quick rate. But then this person gets shot. And so
I can't wait to tell you this. I can't wait to tell you the secret when we get to the end of this, of what this actually is. So
I love it, man.
I'll tell you.
All right.
So this creature gets shot.
Yeah.
Germans, of course, the damn Germans are there. They're on them.
Damn Germans are here, man. So I did translate this for anybody that's watching right now. And let me find it. Let's see. Oh, it just says, is this person dead? How would I know? The other guy says, well, let's go ahead and find out. And that's when they go up to make sure that this person, that he is dead. And so he kind of plays along, right? Because he doesn't want them to know he's alive.
Yeah. But as he's laying there, he realizes, oh shit, something's going on.
Something's going on.
Yeah.
He felt something strange. All of a sudden, he's starting to heal, which is probably freaking him out. Like, I don't know how you stay still when your whole body, you're experiencing all of this. And in an instant, the Germans were on him.
Yeah. And then he's got his power back.
He's got his power back. He's back to full power, and he just lunges and makes his move.
Hey, speaking of David Hazan here, this panel is a shout out to David Hazan, because that is a Nottingham panel if I've ever seen it.
100%, 100%, man. That's what I think. That's one of the reasons I am so popular too, man. Is those
People like that gory shit. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
yeah.
I do too, man. I have to admit, I love it. So yeah, man, check that out, man.
Yeah, so he takes him out, no problem.
Takes him out, grabs this creature, starts to walk toward whatever that light is. The creature's trying to say something, or maybe it is saying something. He just doesn't understand it.
Yeah, he's just basically just trying to get back to the ship. And then he goes inside.
Yeah. Lays it down, and then that person kind of points over here.
Yeah, more of those syringes on the wall.
Mm-hmm. And boom, plunged it into the wound. And now that creature should be experiencing everything that he experienced, right?
Yeah. And of course, like this is kind of when I first came up with this story, I really had this scene in my brain of like, he has this one moment of like, what the fuck is going, like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, cause he's, again, all that adrenaline, he just came out of battle. It's like, this alien is there. The Germans came to kill. It's like, what? And now he has like one silent moment and he's standing inside this, you know, this is 1917. So does he even have an idea of what a spaceship is or what, or whatever this thing is? Right. So,
yeah, I mean, up to this point, right? Was the Ford makes their car in 1912, I think, or something
like that. Yep.
Yeah.
And so, there was science fiction in the 1800s, right? So it's not like this stuff wasn't, you know, wasn't out there, but I don't know if how many people would conceptualize like to us, it's like everything looks like Star Wars or Star Trek, right? Exactly. So we have a good reference for it, but
exactly. And then here, man, the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen stands right in front of me.
Yeah.
Last thing he remembers, he was blackened out.
Yep. She says thanks, and he wakes up.
Yeah. And then he's found by some fellow soldiers, and they're like, man, you can imagine the whole ground is probably littered with human bodies after that battle. And here this guy is. I mean, other than a bloody shirt, I assume he's in good shape.
Yeah. Hey, he looks kind of shitty because he's covered in blood, but so they lug him back and then we get to the end.
Yeah. Kind of tells everything that happened, shrapnel in his side.
Yeah. And the doctor's just like, wow, shit. And I mean, of course, the doctor probably is like, he's seen all sorts of shit at this point. So he's probably not questioning. It's like, hey, great. You're fine. Get out of here.
Yeah. David said War of the Worlds came out in 1895. So maybe, yeah.
True. And David Hazan would know that because no one reads more. Oh,
yeah. 1890. Corrected himself. I love it, David. That's awesome, man. And then Simplin says, was Twilight Zone any influence or inspiration?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this, like it's not like I've seen every episode, but that was one of those shows that I'd catch every now and then as a kid. Like it would, come on like HBO or like, and I loved it. It was so, again, it was, I mean, Twilight Zone was all over the place. And that's what I loved is that you didn't know what you were getting next, right? Or what, so yeah, definitely Twilight Zone was a huge influence on this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then he said he's been wondering about that woman every day. Why did she save my life? Suppose it doesn't really matter, though. I'm just grateful for her.
Yeah, one more beautiful day.
One more beautiful day.
Sitting there with a friend having a whiskey, it's like he's got no complaints.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we do over New Year's get the Twilight Zone marathons every year.
Oh, that's cool. That's super cool. Yeah, so again, man, that it's cool that people really gravitated to this one because I did think that this might be because it's such a swerve from the other two. Yeah. And also with the war stuff, it was kind of like, it's not everybody loves war stories or, but it was cool to see like this was maybe a lot of people's number one of the 5, which I was like pretty shocked. And now I told you there was a secret about this book.
Yes.
My idea with this book was it's like reverse Star Trek. So it's like the alien is like, you know, you could imagine like Captain Kirk on a mission, but it's from the alien's point of view, right? Like, because Bill is like, you know, like in Star Trek, like they come down to and they're doing all the things on the planet, but like imagine it from the perspective of the people on that planet. And that's kind of how I imagined some of it, right? So
Yeah.
he's experiencing it from the other side.
Yeah.
You know, and actually some of the costume that the alien has is a shout out to the syringe is from Next Generation, and the costume is from the original series. I took a bunch of elements from you can look it up. It's like Kirk and Spock go out and I think they're like deep space costumes, and they're all silver. I just love, man, 60s sci-fi, like it just looks awesome. I love it. It is not functional. Who cares? You know, it's like, yeah. Anyway, so there's a lot of Star Trek kind of shout outs in this.
I love it, man. That's so cool, man. Love it, bro. So yeah, I mean, that's up there with one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the blend of war and sci-fi coming together. I don't know, but it was awesome, man.
And you know, everybody loves a sweet old man telling a story, right?
Yeah.
Like I love that. I love it.
So I was very fortunate where I grew up. My dad's parents lived right next door, and my grandfather built the cul-de-sac of all the homes, and then he sold them all. And one of them he sold to my dad, and that's why we lived next door to him until they passed away. So my whole life I had them, and then literally 2 blocks away around the corner, my grandfather and grandmother on my mom's side lived around. So I was able to be that kid on the porch with my grandfathers who fought in World War II, asking them questions. And I still have all their medals and everything.
That's amazing, man. That's, you know, and good on you for asking those questions. Like, I just, you know, anybody from that era, like, man, if you want interesting stories, you talk to somebody in their 90s, holy shit. Like, they'll give you stories for sure. My wife's grandfather just passed, and we'd sit with him and he'd like tell us like everything from the Depression and up. And same with my grandparents. It's just, man, if you're not taking an opportunity to talk to people of that age and just like, and listen, oh my God, like like what a window into the past. Like they lived it. They can close their eyes and see it. Like that's amazing. Right. So
incredible. Yeah.
So now we get to the mines. We're back in Broadacres, and these last 2 stories, you know, I kind of had 4 stories worked out, and then I came up with the 5th one because they wanted 5 books, and so these ones, you know, it's interesting because stuff that I love. Once again, now we're moving into a treasure mystery, right? This is like Indiana Jones shit, which I also absolutely love. So
yes. We get to see Anna again here too. I believe this is the issue where she comes back. So
yeah,
I'm glad you said that because it looked familiar, but I didn't have the name, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
we're back to go ahead, Shane.
I was gonna say, and the idea, it's like it's not important that you don't realize she's the girl from Race the Devil, but once you do, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right? So
well, then you start to think about Freddie because she talks about her father here.
Yeah.
And
because she has a stepdad who is Freddie's best friend.
Yes.
So exactly. But yeah, we start out here in back in the Old West, which man, I got to so happy that Mad Cave let me do this because I basically just got to play around with all the stuff that I love, like sci-fi, ghosts, there's races, Old West stuff. Like I love this kind of lore, like the Dutchman mine stuff. I watch Oak Island every Sunday because I'm a super nerd for that kind of thing. So yeah, I totally love this. And I mean, yeah, Indiana Jones, that's the stuff I grew up on, man. So it was cool to get to sort of do one of those sort of serials.
Absolutely.
But yeah, here we go. 1800s. The boys are coming out of the mine. There's some shit happening down there.
Man, as explosion's about to happen. Another close call.
Yeah, and look who's there.
Reedy is there, man.
Yeah. You notice Reedy has he has pupils in this one.
Oh, that's right.
Because he's alive. Spoiler alert, he's alive in the 1870s.
Wow.
See, little things like that, I'm like, it doesn't matter if people pick up on it, but it's like, oh yeah, okay.
I just think it makes it even more fun knowing that you could definitely go in and read one of these stories and you're going to be happy with them because they're all good. But then when you get these like little things where they kind of tie in, you're like, oh, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
You like did both at the same time, man. Like I want it to be available for anybody just to pick up any issue, enjoy it. But for those dorks out there that want to dig into all the little minute things, man, I'm gonna put some Easter eggs in there and then tie it all together, man. But only a small percent of the readers might find those things out, which I absolutely love, man.
Yeah, me too, man. And I'm like, that's again, not everyone's gonna get. Some people are just gonna whip through it, enjoy it, put it down, whatever. Like it's however you want to. But if it hits you and you want to dig a bit deeper, yeah, there's little things everywhere. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you grew up with those books where you would read like a chapter and then it would give you like 3 options. Go to page 20.
Choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventure. Yeah.
I love those, man.
Me too. I had a bunch of them. My parents would get those for me and I loved it because you could literally read the same book 3 times and have 3 different stories take place. I was at San Diego Comic-Con and there was a vendor there that had a whole display of them and he got the rights to them. So he was re-releasing all those old ones again. And I was just,
that's cool.
Brought back so many memories. But anyways,
they were great, man. I love those books. Yeah, absolutely. I read those when I was a kid for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I loved them. All right. So another saloon. This is the other one that I was mentioning about.
Another saloon. Yeah. More saloons. They're not easy to draw. There's a lot of shit. Like you can probably, I mean, I'm a rock and roll singer, so I have spent a day or two in a pub. So, you know, and the coolest ones are like this, right? There's just shit everywhere. And his little Easter egg is behind, like Anna is up front, but you can see all those trophies. That's all Freddie's race trophies.
Race trophies.
Yeah. Again, little things. It doesn't matter, but I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's Freddie's town. I'm sure he's got all the shit up there. So.
Oh yeah, that's dope.
But yeah, then this guy comes in for absolutely no reason, has these red glasses on. I just thought they looked cool.
I love it, man. Yeah. So Aldrich comes in and he's heard the stories about the mine. He knows that there's something amazing in the mine. He doesn't actually know because Anna knows, but he thinks he knows and he is willing to risk it all to get there. And she's warning him, man, so many people try to do what you're doing and they don't come back alive. But he's brought something, I think, very enticing to help make this happen.
Yeah, trying to bring something she can't refuse. I mean,
there you go. So, yeah. So anyways, he lays it out for you. Not sure she's going to take it until the next day. And you see her.
She comes out, tells about the last time he went in there. Yeah. Somebody got fried.
He doesn't seem to care. He thinks he could get around it for some reason.
Yeah, he thinks she's the one to help.
Yep. Boy, does he not know.
Yeah, and then here they go down the mine. Once again, you know, the challenge of trying to come up with a compelling story that's so condensed.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's fun. I really enjoyed writing this way. Honestly, I'm looking forward to chatting to David about like how he wraps his brain around, like, you know, Nottingham in 3 arcs. That's a lot of story. Like it's a challenge to do stories this short, but I also enjoy it because like there's just, you got to strip anything that doesn't matter. You just take it out. You know, if there's background you don't need, just take it out. Like just, you know, this guy, he's mysterious. He's rich.
Yeah.
He wants to get some silver and gold. Let's go.
That's all you need to know, right? That's all you need to know. So you can see, definitely lots of shadows.
I like black ink. I'm going to be real. You know, Mike Mignola, when I really started getting into Mignola, I was like, that's
my jam right there. Right?
Amazing. Yeah. Love it.
Well, that's what makes your style so unique too. Which I love, man. All right. So here she is. He knew she'd be there. Once you drop that kind of coin in front of somebody, she's like, yep, let's go. So he's brought a team, almost like mercenaries, but they're ready to go, man.
Yeah. They don't look too much like treasure hunters.
No, there's something else going on there, man. Yeah. But she seems to be prepared. Fun thing about comics is there's never enough space for the story you want to tell. So you always have to be economical.
It's so true. I mean, it is, you know, when I see David, like I get a Nottingham outline for a book, and I'm like, how is he going to get this all into 22 pages? But then you can, that's the great thing about comics, is that writing and art has to be economical. You have to figure out how to do it so that it translates and it makes sense, and that you're like satisfied after 20 to 24 pages, and that you don't feel ripped off. And everything has to kind of, yeah, it's a bit of a dance, which is cool, because there's no other medium like that, right? Like it is, it's not a long form. I mean, obviously you have stories that go on and on and on, but even then, like your average Batman book that comes out in a month, it still has to be it's still a story unto itself, and has to be satisfying in that 20 pages, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But I love that, right? You have the whole storyline, and then you start to condense, and then
Yeah.
you get like the meat of the story. And in 22, 24 pages, it has to be meat.
Well, and it's cool, man, because honestly, as a songwriter, it's very much the same. Is like
Oh,
and I felt that while I was writing this, and I'm like, man, this is a lot like writing songs, where you just have to strip the shit out of it. Like you have to, you know, to have the most compelling song and catchy, like you just get rid of the shit, keep the good stuff. And it's just, yeah, it's very, actually, very parallel, the two things for sure. So, but
that's
yeah, now
awesome.
we're down in the mine. Now we're, which is a bit of a challenge to figure out how I wanted to do flashlights. Cause you want it to be clear, but if you've ever gone down into like a place like this, it's disorienting. So I also wanted the art to be a little disorienting, because that's the experience of a place like this, right? Is you don't get a lot of clarity. You get what your little flashlight can get on. But yeah. So anyway.
Exactly. Whatever that diameter is that your flashlight spits out, that's all you're
Yeah.
going to see, right? So they get down there. They're at the restricted area that she's been warning them about.
Yeah. His guys are panicking here. They're a little freaked out. They
They hear
obviously know
something, right?
something's off or something's up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think most people could sense tragedy when it's about to happen, right? And you can definitely see, like you said, something is off here, man. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And they have every right to think that. But she tries to calm them down. They think they found the curse. They have no idea.
Yeah. So they think they got there, and she says, "No,
No.
we got to go back." And then you get the turn. Then you find out Blake is not a good person.
Not at all. Not at all. He doesn't care so much about Anna and her thoughts. He's going to move forward no matter what. And so they start to try and blow that down.
Yeah. He threatens her. He knows he's in the right spot.
Yeah. Yeah. He knows, which makes you think, and obviously this is just me thinking outside the box, but he must have tried this before and just couldn't figure it out, right? Because it seems like he knows a lot.
Yeah, because he'd been down there with her dad.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
he was alive. So anyway, so now they get now they're at the bottom of the mine. They're about ready for the prize.
Here it is. Here's your prize.
Yeah, not exactly what he thought.
What the hell is this, man? This isn't the prize. Looks very familiar.
Very familiar.
Very familiar from the last title. And all of a sudden, beeping goes off.
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell is that? And boom.
They're out.
That's it. That is it.
That was a fun page. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just dancing skeletons.
I love it. I love it.
He's fine.
Yeah. And she's perfectly fine. And we kind of know why if you're paying attention to the last issue.
Yeah. Because it's her ship.
It's her ship. And she must be stuck, right?
She's stuck. Yeah.
And there's a few more things that she needs to do to get this thing going again.
Yeah. And again, like not huge spoilers, but you can keep scrolling to the end here. But she's stuck there. And she's trying to keep people out of the ship. That's why she didn't want to go down there, because it has a protection device that's malfunctioning, and she can't turn it off. So anybody that gets close gets fried. And so she, and then at the end, she also alludes to the fact that because it all starts with this treasure mystery, right? That
Yeah.
there's all this silver and gold. And the reason that her ship is stuck there is because there's so much silver and gold in this mine that it threw her instruments off and trapped her inside. So
Mm.
you get like there's a little double mystery. So there is treasure down there somewhere.
There is. No one could get to it though.
No.
Yeah, I love it. And now we know who the love is, right? The love interest.
Yeah. So this is that's the girl at the end of and that's the girl that that Bill saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Huh? That's why I said it's so cool, man.
I like those little tie-ins. And again, you don't have to know that, but
Yeah.
you know, it's I just like that. I like that kind of stuff. And then we get to the fifth one here, which this was I will say it was the polarizing one for a lot of people. I wasn't sure because I found out that not everybody loves a good time travel story like me. I love time travel. It's hard to do it right.
Yeah.
But anyway, just like Race the Devil, where I was like, can I make a book that's just mostly a race? I was like, can I write a book that's a guy fighting a wolf? What does that look like? how do we make it happen?
Well, look at that cover, man. Freaking phenomenal.
And the point with the covers too is you can tell that they're all kind of similar, but they're supposed to look like 5 movie posters. So it's like the idea that this whole series is like B movies, right? So they are all similar. Posters look kind of the same.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like that kind of continuity. So
me too. And I love a good cover that gives you a window into what you're about to experience.
Yeah.
So many covers today it has nothing to do. You're like, oh, sweet, man, Wolverine, Cable. And then you get in there and it's Rogue. It's a Rogue story. You're like, I mean, it's great, but I'm like, yeah, I thought I was going to see Wolverine and Cable.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you want a bit of an inclination into what you're about to read, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I remember in the 80s, they would even have thought bubbles on the cover on some of this stuff, man. So you would actually, that almost start the story or give you a little hint of what you're going to read. So
yeah, when it was all about the spinner rack, you do anything you can to get them to try to hook a kid into picking that thing up.
Exactly.
You know?
So we have a plane crash in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, blizzard. I was like, what's the worst you could wake up to? You know, plane crash, blizzard, his phone doesn't work. Yeah, and there's a wolf stalking him.
Exactly. Crazy, man.
We've seen that wolf before.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So he hears something, starts shooting.
Yeah. And then the fuel tank blows.
Gone. Yep. Everything's in flames, which probably saves his life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like, you know, this one again. I was cool to experiment and see what people honestly, man, to see what people are into. Like this, I think jumping around so much can throw people off a little bit because this one goes into like also love stuff like survival stories, right? Like you know, like a movie like Alive, and just like this the power of the human spirit when you're up against like the worst odds and what you can survive. Like I like that. So that's in here too. This is wilderness survival basically with some kind of weird time travel stuff thrown in.
Exactly.
Yeah. And again, just an excuse for me to draw a guy knife fighting a wolf for
which is pretty
4 pages.
Nothing wrong with that. So obviously he walks away from the crash, sits back, trying to figure out how to connect with someone.
Yeah. His phone's got no reception.
Nothing, man. Nothing is happening right. So he ends up kind of telling everything that happened. He records it onto his phone just in case he dies and someone finds his phone. At least they'll know what happened to him.
Yeah.
He is, I think, a captain in the Army.
Yeah.
Here is him kind of thinking back as to what he thinks happened. He didn't do anything unique. He wasn't playing around. I guess he's known for maybe being a little bit like a Hal Jordan, where
he's a bit of a loose cannon. But this time he was just doing what he was supposed to do.
Exactly.
You know, he was supposed to go to the racetrack and race.
Yeah.
But basically his boss is like, no, we got a new plane you have to test out. And then he sees some crazy shit. As he goes over the speedway, he sees an explosion. So there's Race the Devil.
Yep. That's what I love, man. That's why I started tying back to all this stuff. I'm like, this is so cool.
Well, and this is the part I will say, like, and I'm curious to see how people pick this up when they read the trade, because if you read all of them together, it's fresh enough that I think that you might understand it, like, because he sees the end of Fred's race. This is the explosion, right? This is when Fred beats the devil. That's what he sees, and then he flies over the mine,
Yes.
which is all fucked up. So
I think you have to read that story in the newspaper to find out that he's over the mine too, right?
yeah. Yeah. He says just before he blacks out that he saw the mine. He was in the vicinity of the mine, and then he blacks out and wakes up. So there's a lot of callbacks to the previous issues, but I realize that's another thing to note for any future things that I'm writing. This book comes out 5 or 6 months after the first one, right? So you can't expect people to retain. So that's the cool thing with then collecting it into the trade, is now you can read it kind of as one story, and hopefully pull a bit more of that out for sure.
100%. I missed so much of this until I reread it again.
Yeah. And honestly, man, some of my favorite series, like even like going back in the day, just like reading some Hellboy stuff, and it takes, if you really dug it, you're probably going to read it a couple times, and hopefully the art draws you in enough that you want to kind of, and sometimes they take a few reads to really like get more out of it. Right. Yeah. So just like a movie, sometimes, I watched I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark 1,000 times, and you pick something up every time. So little details, right, that you pick up that you didn't notice the first 50 times.
100%, man. One of my favorite TV shows is The Office, and
so
I've probably watched it 100 times, all 9 seasons. To this day, I'll be watching it, and I didn't realize Michael did something, or Schrute did something else, man. It's just,
it's right. Cool, man. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So he hears the howl. He knows what he's in for. He knows what he's in for. And he obviously he's beat up, and he knows he's got to get out and try to get a signal on that phone.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows something's waiting for him out there. So
you can see his eye, little side eye right there. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So he's still leaving his recording, and then it gets closer and closer.
Yeah. He's got no signal.
No signal.
Lights the flare, and here we go.
Boom. There's that wolf back again. Hey, well, plane crash couldn't kill me today. Let's see if you can do any better.
And again, this story, a lot of these, and I'm sure a lot of writers work the same way. You kind of have a scene in your mind.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, like you write around it. Like I know James Cameron talks about dreaming the T-800. Like he had a dream of like a metal skeleton basically walking,
That's
like
crazy.
And from that you're like, okay, what can I come up around that, or come up with around that? And similar here, where I'm like, okay, if a guy's knife fighting a wolf, like what can we make out of that? And that's a fun exercise, so that it makes sense. And anyway, and then you get a bit of a graphic fight in a blizzard. A lot going on. Blizzard.
Yeah. The elements aren't helping them either.
No. And it was tricky to draw. I had to scale back some of the blizzard, because again, when I draw, it's not just about you want people to see what's going on, but also you want them to feel. I grew up on the prairies, man. Those blizzards in the wintertime in the Canadian prairies is you don't see anything. Yeah. And I wanted to get a bit of that disorienting feeling, where it's like you have to squint to make things out. And anyway, another thing that I was kind of experimenting with, how far can you push what you can't see, right? And frustrating the reader a little, because I'm like, that's how it feels when you're in a blizzard. It's frustrating. And anyway, that was kind of my attempt with this knife fight anyway. So
I think it came across.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
But here they go. Lots of stabbing, lots of biting. One thing I learned from David is from Nottingham, make your lead character have the worst day possible.
Exactly.
The poor sheriff in that whole series never has a good day. Same with this series. I'm like, it's just a series of terrible days stacked on top of each other.
I love it. Look at that.
Yeah.
And then boom.
Somebody shows up.
Someone shows up. A little gunshot there.
Yeah.
And there he is to save the day.
Ned Reedy's back.
Ned Reedy is back.
Looking the same.
Yeah. Doesn't change.
And with a lot of time travel stuff, you're trying to throw people off with the, where, you know, because this is, it should be contemporary. He's got a cell phone. Ned Reedy's there. He looks like the Ned Reedy from Race the Devil and from Heaven's Trail. So, you know, trying to just give that swerve as much as he can.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Then back to
Broad Acres Air Force Base. And this was really interesting too, what she is given.
Yeah, the challenge of again, I mean, we're spoiling it, but you know, if you
I can skip it if you want.
No, dude. I feel like if you're watching this and you got this far, you've either already read it or you want to know, and you're gonna go read the trade anyway. So
yeah, definitely get the trade and sit down and read the whole thing. Like I said, I read it over 5 months.
Yeah,
and you miss a lot, even though each story individually was really good. It's like another level once you're able to read it all the way through. And the trade, I cannot wait for the trade. It's just, yeah, it's beautiful, man.
Sweet, man. Sweet. Yeah. So you're back at the Air Force Base. This is the colonel that he was leaving the message for on the phone. Yeah. So he's missing. They're looking for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they're tearing up the runway to do repairs, and they found a box with her name on it.
Box with her name on it, which has got to be freaky.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you're like, what the hell? I didn't bury anything in there.
Yeah, rusty. It's all beat up.
Yeah, been there for a while.
Yeah, she opens it up.
What the hell, yeah.
Opens it up. There's a letter to her.
Yeah, and you'll know.
Yeah, it's her pilot. It's the captain.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah, and then she finds something else in the box. A little newspaper clipping.
Yes.
April 12th, 1927. There he is.
Boom. That's crazy, man. And like I said, I did enlarge this and read that whole thing.
That's cool that you did that. So initially I didn't have that in. It was going to be like you said, it was just squiggle.
Yeah.
So as I'm drawing this page, I wrote Battle for Survival in the Red Hills, and I just started to have fun writing it. So I thought, shit. I'm just going to write it. And if anybody reads it, fine. If not, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so they give a little blurb about, so the tie-in here that hopefully people, if they read it back to back, remember the page that I told you in Race the Devil, where the guy that Freddie's got the map.
Yes.
The race car driver is Eddie Norris, is this guy. Yeah. So it's like that's the thing I love so much about time travel stories, right? Is it's this cyclical thing. So Eddie Norris flies over, he sees Freddie race the devil, and Freddie was doing that because Eddie Norris is the guy he learned from, because, you know, Eddie now lives in the 20s and 30s. And he was a race car driver then. So I love that I know not everybody does, and I discovered not everybody loves a time travel story, but I like those kind of weird mental loops that you get with time travel, right? Because now Eddie he's contemporary, but now he's living in the 20s and 30s. Does he get back? I mean, there's questions like that, but probably not. I mean, you know, you can go. That's the thing about time travel. A story like this, it's kind of contained enough that you don't have to explain the science.
Yes,
he's just there. Then of course he buries the box, so she'll find it later. No, he knows they're about to tear up the runway, so he knows if he buries it there, by the time it gets back to his time, that's one way he can make sure that it gets there. But very Bill and Ted, that part.
I love it though, how everything kind of comes full circle. I love that, man. I love that. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, man. I mean, incredible series.
Well, mostly, dude, that's what I wanted. Like, none of this was supposed to be like crazy. I don't want to say it's not deep. Like, there's things in, especially No Man's Land, I wanted people to like feel the warp. But I mean, dude, the point with this whole thing was like, I love serialized stuff like the Twilight Zone, Star Trek, the original series, like, man, you can watch any episode comes on and you're in. You don't have to know what happens before or after. And also just, I kind of miss sometimes, I think, I don't have a problem with this, but I think everybody wants to kind of have the new Walking Dead or the new, like, and I just kind of miss those, like, you pick up a book, holy shit, that was great. And you move on with your day. Like, just giving somebody a bit of like a cool story. And, anyway, that's the kind of stuff that I love. Very episodic and very, very, like B-movie kind of.
Yeah.
It's funny. I heard some people be like, it's good. It might not change your life, but it's really good. I'm like, is that what art is supposed? It's all supposed to change your life. You're not supposed to just enjoy. Sometimes just enjoy. Anyway, I always thought that's a funny.
Is that a compliment, or I'm not sure what that is.
I'm like, is that a compliment, or like, because it's depends who you are. It might. I'm sure somebody might have watched the Twilight Zone and it changed their life. Was that the? If what I have to do as an artist is always change people's lives every time I create something, that's a big ask.
That's a lot of responsibility as an artist.
It's a big lift. I'm just going to make shit that I like and see how it lands.
Exactly. I think that's the better. I don't know.
No, I mean, I get what people are saying. The point is that stories like this, it's a very old fashioned kind of way of comic storytelling, is just like that. Man, I miss the experience of going to a spinner rack and grabbing an issue and just being like, especially as a kid, it just blew my mind. Even if I didn't understand the story, like, the art would blow my mind and just draw you in. And like, you'd read that thing over and over and just kind of disappear into the world. And I love that stuff, Tommy.
I do too. Conan the Barbarian is one of my favorite titles, and what Jim Zub is doing with Conan right now. And again, that's serialized storytelling. It might be 2 or 3 issue story, but you could kind of jump in wherever and you're going to get a great story. And Robert E. Howard, when he created Conan and all of his other characters, Solomon Kane, all of those were meant for that type of a purpose. You go in, you read a story, it's an adventure. Once the adventure's over, next issue, you're going to get a whole new adventure. And I do, if you see the popularity of Conan right now, I mean, it's
huge.
And I think there is a desire to get back to that kind of storytelling where you don't have to invest. And with people with phones and computers and social media, I just feel like no one's going to invest like they used to in a 50-issue story, right? Yeah. It's a lot to ask of people today with how technology has kind of changed the way that we look at the world in general. So I don't know. I think,
well, man, it's we could talk about that for hours, and it is, but I will say that it is this thing with like, where are comics going? Where's entertainment going? Right. And I think that, like, there was a time where it was nothing but serialized everything, which people kind of got sick of. So when they started to get these longer arcs, it really hit people. We're like, shit, I get like a whole season that's one story, and that was super cool.
Yeah.
Then that kind of took over. And I think there's room for everything now, right? Like, again, anything done well, people are going to enjoy. And the format doesn't really matter if it's a good story. And for this, the one thing that I really took out of this, that I really took to heart and appreciated, is that people love Broadacres. They loved the world of it. And it was cool to hear people say, like, I just wanted to spend more time in the world.
Yeah.
And that's super cool, right? Because it is that kind of, that's sort of how video games get people, I think, is that, like, obviously you're doing the story and all the things, but like, there's just something about living inside that world for a little while. Even if you reread that book, I mean, that's why, like, Lord of the Rings has been around for as long as it has and been as popular, because it's a great story. It's not a super complicated story, but man, it's the world that you disappear into that really is the thing that you take away. And you kind of, I remember the first time I read Lord of the Rings, I was so bummed when it was over. And it's that was a long fucking book.
It is.
But you're just like, you just liked being in there, and no matter what was going on. So that was probably my favorite compliment I got, is people saying that they really liked this world. Even if, like, they enjoyed this book more than that book, they just like being in there. Right. And again, just like Star Trek was for me when I was a kid, like the original series, some episodes weren't great, but I still liked them. Like, I was like, but I'm still I'm on the Enterprise. Like, it's still Kirk and Spock and McCoy doing their thing, right? Like, and it's so even if I loved one episode and the other one was okay, it's still like, man, something drew you in about the world of it. That you're okay if one or two of them weren't your favorite, which is also the cool thing with serialized stuff is that you get to experiment with some different genres and some different tones, and like some things people are going to love, some they're not. But I think that's a tough thing. Again, I full respect to people like Scott Snyder, like how you just do Batman stories and try to keep it fresh. That's a huge ask. That's tough, man.
Yeah,
you know, and you don't really have, you can't really change the tone. It can't all of a sudden become something completely different. It has to be that thing, right? So anyway, man, I had a blast. I had an absolute blast doing this thing. So,
Me
and I'm
too,
glad that
Shane.
you enjoyed it, man.
I absolutely loved it. I hope there's another season of it. If you need us all to write Mark and say Mark, make sure there's a second season. We will. I love Mark, but yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. For everybody that tuned in, thank you so much. June 10th, the trade will be available. Get in your comic book shop. Make sure you tell them that you want Prairie Gods Trade Volume 1 in your box on June 10th, man. You could also get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but let's start with the comic book shops first and then go from there. You could also go to madcavestudios.com. You could pre-order it directly from Mad Cave. Shane, before I let you go, man, first, thank you so much for spending so much time with me.
Oh, dude, thank you.
With this series, and I do hope there's more. Before we let you go, is there anything else you're working on or anything else you want to tell people that are watching that they could look out for?
Well, there's some stuff coming up. You know, it's the same old thing that you can't really say, but there's a bit of a getting the band back together element going on here. So you'll hear about that. But honestly, I would say right now I have a lot of stuff going on. I'm actually my wife and I just moved to Vancouver, and I also act. I do some acting, so I got a couple things happening.
Nice.
Right, I still write and play music. So I have a lot of things going on, comics as well. But I will say, like, if you found this series and you enjoyed it, check out Nottingham. That's like you will see the evolution of my art coming up to Prairie Gods, and there's similarities in the beginning, but it's a journey. So yeah, I would honestly, I'd love people to check out Nottingham, because I get messages from people all the time saying they just discovered it, and that's super cool. I will say that I like one thing about our world right now is it is a very like content based, where it's like, okay, you did that. What's next? It's like, there's so much shit to check out. So if you like my stuff, man, check out Nottingham. You'll see like David, incredible writer, super, super proud of that. And yeah. And if you saw Nottingham first, or you're just new here, yeah, definitely check out Prairie Gods, check out the trade. And then, dude, you know what? You and I, we message back and forth on Instagram and stuff. So if there's cool shit, you'll be the first to know. I promise. And you can right now, if you want to check out my website, I've got just art up there. There's also art for sale, ShaneConneryVolk.com, and Art of SCV is my art page. I'm easy to find, man. And whenever I'm allowed to announce stuff, I announce it there.
I appreciate it, Shane. Well, always great having you, my friend. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And let's do this again as soon as you're ready, my friend. Love it.
I love it, Tommy. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Shane. Take it easy, my friend. For everybody that tuned in, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Also, get over there and make sure you read Kosher Mafia. David, thank you for joining today. It was great having you in the chat, man. We need to come back as well, man. I'd love to have you on. All right, everybody, have a great night and a great rest of your week, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.